Hello everyone, we are back here. I just ran over a dead animal, I didn't even realize it. We're coming up on Colebrook, Pennsylvania. Now Colebrook, Pennsylvania was originally, I believe it was around 1791 when it was founded. It was originally known as Mount Joy Furnace, but when Robert Coleman bought it from the Cornwall Iron Furnace fame, he renamed it Colebrook Furnace. And that's sort of how it came about its name. We just were back there around Dinosaur Rock. I wanted to look at some of the history and one of the pamphlets that I have, and I'm gonna take you a different route. We actually went this route once or twice, but we're actually gonna go up here. We're gonna take a left, and we're gonna go over towards Lawn. I came back this way. I was going over to Mount Joy and came a different way because I went and took some pictures in Campbelltown and really fell in love with the drive that I took. I just thought it was really pretty going back through over to Lawn, but then going over to Palmyra. There's another little town in there somewhere as well. It's really, really neat. It just opened as Colebrook Crossing. It used to be the Twin Kiss ice cream place, but now it's another ice cream place. Very, very neat, and looks like it's very, very busy. But anywho, so we're gonna make a left here. We've been down this way once before. 9 miles to Elizabeth. Now that there is the Colebrook Mansion for the furnace. Is the furnace master that ran everything would have lived there. There's also, apparently there's a lot of other ruins in this area as well that have to do with, and this whole area was all this Colebrook furnace. I mean, it was a massive operation. So it was it was a highly successful operation for Robert Coleman as well. Now, if you park there and you walk back that road, you will see there is the old Colebrook Mill. I probably see it from back here a little bit easier, just looking to make sure nobody's there. And then we can maybe stop here for a second. Then you can really see it back there reasonably well. But I'll just keep going on the path here. But anyways, that was the Colebrook Mill, and that's where we told the story about the hounds of Colebrook. And we just did the short for that, on a history short. Now, there is some interesting things about that. There's different variations of the story, if you will. One of the variations is that it was Peter Grubb, who's the guy that founded Cornwall and started the Cornwall Iron Furnace. They say that it was actually him, and truth be told, there's probably no way it was him, because when he died and when he owned the iron furnace and everything, it just doesn't make sense for it to have been him. But there's different variances where they say one is in Cornwall Iron Furnace, and then this other one, it was Colebrook. Which one's true, if any, who knows, but it does make for a good story. One gentleman had said that had viewed the video, said has sort of a sound of like the Hound of the Baskervilles, and that is true. Probably another little bit of a connection with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, just like the Blue-Eyed Six with the Red-Headed League, a short story by Arthur Conan Doyle. So it's interesting to see what all like these different stories, the connections, and they may even be based off of, I'm just letting these guys go because they're just running right up on me and each other. So make sure there's nobody here. But anyways, you have a lot of these different tales and stuff like that, have different variations through time, get brought over from England or Germany or somewhere in Europe, and wind up getting their own variation here in America. So it could very well be something like that. Hound of the Baskervilles could very well as well be based off of an old medieval legend, something like that. Having these ghostly hounds haunting their former master type of thing. So it's interesting how fiction sometimes is sort of influenced by legend, and legend is influenced by some type of truth as well. So it's just a matter of picking in between and figuring out what they are. But they do make for good stories and around the campfire and elsewhere as well. So this is the village of Lawn. This was originally known as Roseland. It's an area that was very full of mills and that type of stuff. Very fertile area. So it was known as Roseland, I believe, 1788, and then 1790. Actually, I'm sorry, it's 1888, and then I think in 1891 is when Aaron S. Kreider, who was actually, I believe, a representative. He was a big industrialist, and I believe that's the EC Church here in Lawn. Bob and I have talked about that quite a bit, and we are probably going to turn around here at some point and then go back, because I wanted to come through Lawn, and this is as good a place as any. But the Lawn Fire Company, quite the parking lot. I don't know how historical, but you know, important nonetheless. Great place to park, 5 stars. But anyways, Aaron Kreider wound out deciding to change the name, most likely because of it was a name that somebody else had, and so therefore the representative wound out changing the name to Lawn. Once again, coming into, I think, probably an English name similarity, like from England. You know, it's an area that's stereotypical of being very beautiful, and an area that had quite a bit of nature's bounty around it. So it would make sense to call it something like that. I'll mention, Jay had brought up about Mountville not being able to find it on the map. I think what the problem there, Jay, is that most likely the scenario is Mountville was asked to change its name because of the much larger Mountville in Lancaster County, and either just chose not to, or I don't know. So sometimes when that happens, from what I'm aware, those towns that's supposed to change their name just to avoid confusion will not be mentioned as communities. And because of how small it is, it's maybe 10 to 15 houses. It just sort of is like you had the McGillstown, which is right nearby, west of that. That's maybe a little bigger, but it just sort of is what it is. But it does exist, and because I did the why is it called that for Mountville, and then the reason Mountville is called Mountville is because of the topographical feature right nearby called Mount Ararat, and being the biblical name of the landing place, the mountains of Ararat for Noah's Ark. But that would most likely be the reason. I believe that it wouldn't be mentioned. It could just be an omission as well. Something as simple as that, because it's Wikipedia. I've been on Wikipedia before and, slapped my phone with my thumb. Wikipedia isn't necessarily always the greatest place, because I used to get, I still, shame, I get some of my information on Wikipedia too, because it's one of the easiest sources in which to get information, but I usually try to check on a second source. With something like the towns, it's like that, the only place you're probably going to find information like that is going to be Wikipedia, because like it or not, they are sort of the source of information that has the most information, just because people can add to it. But it also can wind up being one of those situations where you don't always know the information is complete, or you're getting the right information, because people do it and they don't necessarily always research what they post. So, or sometimes even post misleading things just for giggles. But anywho, that's just another one of those things, the town videos I did in the last week. The why is it called that? I'll say this as well. I am going to start doing some of these shorts as well. I'm going to start doing ones for the heroines of hometown history. I'm going to do for tales of hometown history, and also like churches and cemeteries that we've done before. I may wind out doing some videos on those as well, just to sort of might be something that draws people to those videos to see what the channel actually offers more than anything. But I also think they'll make some cool shorts talking about some of these heroes and some of the cool stories and war stories and whatnot that are out there. But I was just enamored by this little road. Some of the really neat houses along the way as well. There's in this area, in general, maybe 10 to 15 square mile area, the darker sort of sandstone limestone. It's more of a red limestone than a sandstone. A lot of the houses are made of that. And it's actually really pretty if it's done correctly. And the houses out here, they definitely have done correctly. Also, I think it has to do with maintenance a lot too, because probably the other ones were done correctly. They just have been let go over time. But there's a couple in here that I was really impressed with. But we'll take this one the whole way to Campbelltown, next to the Londonderry Inn, because that's where I stopped. And I also stopped at the Salem United Church of Christ, which would have been a Reformed church. Has quite a long history, interesting history. I did a little bit of photography in Campbelltown. I'll be doing a Why Is It Called That for Lawn, for Colebrook, and for Campbelltown. I'm going to do them more. I got some of the pictures of the signs, and I'll get some other pictures as well that I have. Sort of put those all together and do some shorts on those. And then I have a really cool local legend that I never heard of before. I did something on John Harris Jr., who was the founder of Harrisburg. And there's a pretty cool local legend about John Harris Sr. He's buried underneath, I believe it's a what am I saying? This is where I want to make a right, yes. And he was buried underneath the birch tree right near the Susquehanna, near their trading business. There's a pretty cool story that goes with it, why he wanted to be buried next to that birch tree in particular. And his son honored his wishes. So that'll be coming up probably this week at some point as well. More haunted history and some of these other series, the short series starting up. Like here's one of them I'm talking about right here. This place is magnificent. Beautiful barn, beautiful home. I actually stopped, took a picture of this place. Like this place is nuts. And a cool barn over there. It's just wow. You wonder what the history of that place is, how old it is, you know, all the stories it's seen. I did, as J.P. Walber, my writing name, I did a short story called The Door. And it sort of follows this home as the door is put in, and then sort of the stories, the joys, the sorrows that it's seen through the ages in following the generations of this family, you know, through times of peace, times of war, and all that kind of stuff. And it always sort of, you know, think of the threshold of the home coming through the door, what that door is all seen in some of these older homes. And it you know, this is one of those things I've said in cemeteries. It's you could write books about what these people's experiences were, and so much of it, unfortunately, is forgotten and lost to time. And, you know, it's the importance of cemeteries and graveyards is it's a way of remembering these people's names at the very least. And, you know, their stories are out there, because there's a couple of really cool channels where they do headstone cleaning. And they go in and they actually look up through Ancestry or whatever they can get public record wise and tell the story, you know, within a minute, which is very hard to do, and they're very good at it. Telling that story of that person's life as they clean the headstone. I mean, obviously they're cleaning the headstone and then do the audio over top of it, but it's just so neat. And you're really bringing these people back to life. their story again, so people can remember who they are, and at least some aspect of them, and how important that type of work is. There's another really cool channel, middle-aged bald guy. He's out in the Midwest, I think in the Illinois region, but he does like cemeteries, and he's really, really good at it, and really cool channel. I really like his videos and the stuff that he does, but it is cool seeing some of these different people, and allows you to influence your channel to a degree, because different little things that they do, storytelling techniques. There's a guy, Urban Explorer, I believe his name is. He does shorts, and he does the line at the end of his video. A lot of stuff in New York City is like, "Stay curious, my friends," and that's sort of where I got history is out there, my friends, because I just like the simple line, but yet it's so neat to just remind you that stay curious, or history is right outside your door. It's right there, and it's just really neat, and there's so much that has been preserved. Today I was in Indiantown Gap, and I went over to the National Guard Museum, and they had two old buildings. One of them was where Indiantown Gap is. We talked about it several times. There's a lot of different towns, and those towns, basically people got bought out, and the populated areas were depopulated to make this military base back in the early 30s. Well, right smack dab middle of what Indiantown Gap is today was a town called Rankstown. It's Rankstown, Rankstown, and it had a small public school, one-room schoolhouse, and so the story goes that in the 1930s, Eleanor Roosevelt, the wife of FDR, very active, very interested in the military and supporting our young men, and she had visited Indiantown Gap, being a new military base, and she noticed that they had no place for religious worship. So she's like, well, why don't you take this old abandoned schoolhouse and make it into a chapel? So it became Our Lady of Victory Chapel, and it was actually, a lot of stuff was paid for by the Diocese of I think Harrisburg and Scranton took care of a lot of the needs for it. Very, very cool. And then next to it was, we're doing some videos as of late on Mount Gretna, how the first Pennsylvania National Guard base was there. And I had no idea how big it was or what was all there. It was apparently rather large. Well, they actually brought about 300 buildings over from Mount Gretna to Fort Indiantown Gap. And one of them was the Victorian era range house. So like for the rifle ranges, you would have a house there that had a second floor with balconies, and the people that ran the range, the officers, they would stand up on these balconies with binoculars, take care of the communication, because a lot of times they did it with flags and things like that, and they would watch and see as the military personnel were firing their rifles, their marksmen. And here they had brought that over, and it was originally over at Range Road, which is where Fort Indiantown Gap had their rifle ranges. Now, when the rifle ranges changed to an electronic system, the range house was no longer needed. So I believed it was in like 2004, they moved the range house over to where the Pennsylvania National Guard Museum is and restored it. And it is absolutely stunning. So it was really, really cool going over there, doing the shorts with the tanks, also a troop carrier. And then I stopped by, I'd like to go out tomorrow morning to quick go over to Fort Indiantown Gap National Cemetery to do our Memorial Day video. But I don't know, I'm pretty beat because I was just doing a landscape job. And I would like, if I could, to go over there and do that, but we'll see. But if not, I went back to the video today, or should say probably 2 days ago, because it's the same day that I put it out on Sunday, May 27th, I believe it is today. And we are coming up here to Campbelltown. It is the Londonderry Inn up on the right. They had this cool painting thing of, I guess, like the three brothers or something like that that started the hotel or the inn. You can sort of see it up there. It's just sort of one of those neat building paintings. I really like them. It makes for good artwork. Good photography. But anyways, so I stopped at that, I think it's the 2nd Brigade Fallen Warriors Monument. I didn't realize how important that thing was. I mean, it's important, but like, there's a lot of symbolism there, and it's very cool. And this is Salem United Church of Christ. Would have been a Reformed church. Very neat. Cool piece of information I will say before I forgot. That church, the first host of The Tonight Show, before Johnny Carson, was Jack Parr. He actually got married in that church to a local girl. It's pretty cool local information, history. But anyways, I went back to that monument, the 2nd Brigade Fallen Warriors Memorial, and I did a video just on that. There's no way I could do a short on it with everything, the symbolism that's there. It's just a very, very cool thing, and I felt the right thing was to go back and do a video just on that. So that could potentially be the Memorial Day video that probably will come out with the Memorial Day video if I'm able to go do one. It depends on how busy it is, and just out of wanting to be appropriate and not be filming while people are potentially going out to Fort Indian Town Gap to visit their loved ones' graveside. I want to be sort of cognizant of that and not be an idiot and be out there filming. Even though my motives are good, you know, the road to hell was paved with good intentions, and I just don't want to be ignorant. It was actually sort of neat, when I was at that 2nd Brigade. Might want to actually close your door there, buddy. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but anyways, nothing like opening your door and having it wide open right into traffic. But anyways, there's a lady there at the same moment that I was there, and I was filming her, and another lady came there. Here she was visiting one of those 3 markers of the 3 gentlemen that had been killed in Afghanistan, and it was her brother. So that was a really interesting talk, and it was an honor, really, at the end of the day. So yeah, so we'll see what happens tomorrow, what we're able to do. It all depends on how I'm feeling, because the last couple days my legs haven't been great. I just get exhausted, and it just sort of is what it is. But anywho, so we're heading down to Palmyra here, and with that, I'm going to say thank you for coming along on another Country Roads Take Me Home, and as always, we will see you all about town.